What is going on, college basketball fans? Today I have for you my final bracketology of 2023. Selection Sunday is tonight. We will be live at 6 p.m. for the Selection Sunday reveal, watching that together and making my first brackets there on stream. So make sure you guys come tune in for that. The goal of this bracketology is to see how close we can get to the actual bracket, and I'm excited to get right into it. It is currently, as I'm recording this, 2 a.m. Sunday morning. I just watched Grand Canyon secure a bid over Southern Utah, and yeah guys, we made our bracket. Let's get into it. Alright, so here are our first two regions. My top overall seed is the Alabama Crimson Tide, and they chose Louisville, the South region there. But first, let's go over my first four out, because there are some really good teams in my first four out, actually my last four in and my last four buys. So my first four out, unfortunately, I could not find a spot for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights or NC State. I was very surprised that both of those teams did not make my bracket, but going through it, I just felt there were other teams that kind of deserved the spot over them. So, and just to go ahead and mention, in my last four in, it was between NC State or Clemson, and I kind of feel like Clemson blew out NC State 2 times, including just recently in the ACC tourney. I feel like Clemson should get a spot over NC State at this point. I think they might both get in. Me personally, this is what I would do. Nevada and Vandy both on the first four out as well. Very solid teams, but just did not make the cut. My last four in, I do have Mississippi State going up against Arizona State, and I do have Clemson going up against Oklahoma State. And my last four buys, I have USC, Pitt as 11 seeds, and Illinois and Boise as 2-10 seeds. That are my last four buys here for this bracketology. So our first region is in Louisville. It is the South region, and it is our top overall seed, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, Alabama, they do play today against Texas A&M in the SEC Championship, so that game could determine whether Alabama gets the top overall seed or not. But at this point, with Kansas losing to Texas yesterday, I have Alabama as my top overall seed at this point in time. Now, if Alabama loses and Houston beats Memphis, I could see Houston getting the top overall seed this year for sure as well. But Alabama, my top overall seed, they're going to go up against Northern Kentucky, this 16 seed right here, a very good 16 seed there. At our 8 seed, I do have West Virginia. I was going to have them as a 9, but honestly, considering all the rest of the 9 seeds, I had WVU here as an 8. Penn State here as a 9. I mean, honestly, you could flip-flop WVU and Penn State. Have Penn State as the 8, WVU as a 9. Penn State actually plays today against Purdue. Penn State could win the Big Ten championship, and they could move up a lot from that. I have them all the way up here as a 9 right now. Jalen Pickett, going to be very scary in March. Look out for this Penn State team. They are rolling. At a 5 seed, I do have Duke. Speaking of teams that are on a roll, Duke has been killing it lately. They just won the ACC tourney. And yeah, I have them jumped up all the way to a 5 seed at this point in time. I think they could probably get as high as a 4. I left them as a 5. I think a 4 might be a little bit of a stretch right now. I could see it though. If the committee gave Duke a 4, I would not be surprised. But they are going up against a really good 12 seed, a 30-win team in Charleston. I honestly feel like Charleston, you could give them a higher seed than a 12 seed. The only reason I kind of didn't is because there are so many good teams that I feel like deserve a spot in the tourney. I already had to leave out teams like Rutgers and NC State. I didn't want to have to leave out another one of those really good teams just to give Charleston kind of a better seed. But I could see Charleston maybe getting a better seed, but more than likely they're going to end up with a 12, but a very strong 12 seed. At our 4 seed, we do have Xavier, and Xavier, they did lose in the Big East tourney, but a good run from them there in the Big East tourney. No Zach Fremantle for this tournament, but still I believe they deserve this 4 seed. At our 13 seed, we do have Iona winning their league championship, and they will be dancing there, the Fighting Rick Pitino's. At our 6th seed, we do have the Kentucky Wildcats, and I was actually surprised with how high of a seed I did end up giving Kentucky, but honestly, right now, I feel like Kentucky probably deserves a 6 or a 7. I could see them moving down to the 7 line. I have them here as a 6. Going up against 11 seeds, either Clemson or Oklahoma State. That would be a really good play-in game, must-see game right there at the 11 line. At the 3 line, we do have the UConn Huskies. I feel like they have played themselves into a 3 seed. The stretch that they've had at the end of the season, I know they just lost to Marquette, but before that, they were on a stretch winning a ton of games in a row, looking really good, looking like they were at the beginning of the year. They also have a lot of really good non-con wins, including a win over the top overall seed in March Madness right now, which is the Alabama Crimson Tide. As our 14 seed, we do have the Furman Paladins. I'm really high on Furman as a team to get a potential upset in March Madness. As you guys know, a lot of you guys are like, what do you see in them? Well, they have a really good backcourt. They won their league. They're here as a 14 seed. At the 7 line, I do have Florida Atlantic University, and FAU, I'm higher on them than most, but if you think about it, they have 30 wins on the season. They play in a very good league, and they just blew out UAB in the Conference USA Championship. And if a team like Murray State last year can get a 7 seed, why not FAU? I got FAU here at the 7 line. I could see them being anywhere from a 7 to a 10. I have them as a 7. At our 10 line, I do have Illinois. As you can see, Illinois is closer to not making the tourney to me as a 10 seed because, they just haven't been playing well as of late. Lost first round there, or I guess technically the second round in the Big 10 tourney to Penn State, but the first game that they played in that tourney. And yeah, they have some really good non-con wins against UCLA, against Texas, but recently they just haven't been looking that great. So that's why I have the Illini down here as a 10 seed. At our 2 seed, a team that Illinois did beat in Madison Square Garden, I do have the Texas Longhorns. They defeated Kansas today, locking in a 2 seed for them. I feel like Texas, because they won the Big 12 championship today, they lock in a 2 seed. They will be a 2 seed tonight on Selection Sunday, and they will be going up against my 15 seed UNC Asheville. Next region, we do have Kansas City, the Midwest region, and our top seed in this region is the Kansas Jayhawks. I still have them as my 2nd overall seed. You could say Houston probably deserves it, especially the way that Kansas did lose to Texas. They lost pretty badly in that game, so I could definitely see that for sure, especially if Houston goes on and beats Memphis. But I still have Kansas here as a 1 seed here in Kansas City, and they will be going up against 16 seed either Farley Dickinson. They definitely have to play in the play-in game because they do not even deserve to be in the tournament. If it wasn't for the stupid rule, then Merrimack would be in the tourney instead of them. Or going up against the 14-win team, Texas Southern, who got a bid steal. Like, wow. What? Wow. Just, I cannot believe it. That is awesome. 8 seed for this region, we do have the Memphis Tigers. Pretty high on Memphis. I got them as an 8 line right now. If they could beat Houston tomorrow, I could see them jumping up to a 7 line 100%. As a 9 seed, they will be going up against Iowa. Iowa, I could see them anywhere from 8, probably an 8 or a 9, maybe a 10. I don't think I see Iowa getting a 7. I don't see that. So I have them here as a 9 seed. As our 5 seed in this region, I do have Texas A&M. I'm pretty high on A&M. If they do beat, Alabama, I'm not sure how the committee feels about Texas A&M, but I know I'm a little bit higher on them than guys like Joe Lenardi, who's usually pretty accurate with what the committee thinks. So I think if they beat Alabama, they'll probably be a 5, maybe a 4. If they lose, they're probably going to be a 6, I would say. But I have them here as the 5 seed. I think that they should be a 5 seed even if they lose in a close one to Alabama tomorrow or today. At our 12 line in this region, we do have Drake. Drake, a very good 12 seed. All the 12 seeds are really good. I mean, Charleston, Drake, Oral Roberts, VCU, you name it. If I'm a 5 seed, I am very scared heading into the first round because I think at least 2 of these 12 seeds get wins at this point. At the 4 line, I do have the Miami Hurricanes. I know they did lose to Duke in the semis, but Norchad Omier goes down. He should be back and ready to go for the March Madness tourney. Look out for Miami making a deep run this year. At our 13 line, we do have a very good team. They could put an end to that Miami run early because Kent State is a very solid team. Blew out Toledo in the MAC championship, and I've been pretty high on Kent State all year, and that kind of died down a little bit because of how good Toledo was playing. But since Kent State did beat Akron and beat Toledo en route to a MAC championship, I'm really looking out for Kent State. They played teams like Houston close early in the year. I could see the Flashers pulling off a big upset in March Madness. At our 6th line, we do have Iowa State. Iowa State is a team that was struggling, pretty bad, but then they got back-to-back wins over Baylor to end the regular season and in the Big 12 tourney. Then they did lose to Kansas in the semis of the Big 12 tournament. I have them here as a 6th line right now. At our 11 seed, I do have the Pitt Panthers, one of my last 4 buys, making it into the tourney. They'll get a tough task going up against Iowa State there in the first round. A lot of really good guards being played in that 6-11 matchup. At our 3 line here, we do have Gonzaga. Gonzaga, pretty high on them as a 3 seed. Honestly, I think a lot of people are kind of sleeping on Gonzaga. I could see them potentially making a Final Four run. Look out for the Zags. And they will be playing Grand Canyon. I just watched them get their bid right before I started making this video. They will be in, and I have them here as a 14 seed. At our 7 line, I do have Northwestern, and Northwestern is a team not a lot of people have been talking about lately. They were definitely disappointing in the Big Ten tourney, but definitely a team that I could see, maybe making a run from the 7 seed spot. At our 10 seed here in this region, we do have the Auburn Tigers. Definitely a very good defensive team. I mean, the defense in this Northwestern Auburn game would be outstanding. I don't see either one of these teams definitely aren't scoring over 70 in that game. Maybe not even over 65. That would be a low scoring game. It would be a fun one. It would probably go down to the wire. At our 2 seed in this region, I do have Arizona. They just beat UCLA tonight in the Pac-12 tourney. And to me, that locks Arizona in as a 2 seed. So they are in here in this Midwest region. And they will be going up against our 15 seed in this region, the toothpaste, Colgate, out of the Patriot League. So yeah, guys, let's get into our other 2 regions. All right, here are our last 2 regions for our last bracketology. Starting in our West region in Las Vegas, we have our top seed in this region, which is the Houston Cougars, and they'll be going up against either SEMO or Howard in the play-in game here at the 16 line. At our 8-9 matchup here in this region, we do have Maryland versus Utah State, the Aggies versus the Terps, and that's right, I am a lot higher on Utah State than some people. I mean, they had a very impressive run through the Mountain West tourney, and if San Diego State, I have them here as a 6 seed, as you can see a little bit down the board. If they're getting a 6 seed, I feel like Utah State, they played them so close and they had such a good run. They almost, they have almost just as good of a record. They deserve a 9 line. A lot of people have them close to barely making it in the tourney. I don't know. I have Utah State here as the 9 seed going up against Maryland as our 8 seed. I think that would be a fantastic matchup here in the round 1. At our 5 seed here, we do have St. Mary's, the Gales, getting a 5 seed right here. And honestly, they did not play good in that last matchup against Gonzaga in the West Coast West Coast Conference Championship game, but I still think that they deserve a 5 with all they have done this season. At our 12th line, we do have Oral Roberts. Very strong 12 seed, just like Charleston, a 30-win team, a very solid team, undefeated in their league. Oral Roberts, very, very good. Cannot wait to watch them dance and march this year. At our 4 line, we do have Tennessee, and Tennessee, they dropped down to a 4 line for me. A lot of people still have them as a 3. Some people even have them no, I don't think anyone has them too, but a lot of people still have them as a 3 line. I don't see it. I feel like at highest they deserve a 4. I could honestly see Tennessee even dropping down to a 5 line, but they have really good non-conference wins, really good schedule, just really good wins in general on the season against teams like Kansas and Alabama. So Tennessee, they are here at the 4 seed, and they will be going up against the 13 seed winner of the Sun Belt, the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. Now, Louisiana, a very solid team to come out of the Sun Belt right there. Teams like Marshall, teams like Southern Miss, kind of choked in the tourney, but Louisiana prevailed. They came out of there, and I have them projected here as a 13 seed. At our 6th line, we do have San Diego State. I could see them potentially getting a 5 seed, but then the same people who have them up as like a 5 seed have Utah State down as like an 11 and Boise State as an 11. Like, come on, are you a believer in the Mountain West or are you not, you know? So I kind of, I'm a little bit lower on San Diego State. Some people have them as a 5, and I'm a little bit higher on Utah State. I have them here as a 9 seed. I feel like that's a little bit more fair, and that's kind of the way that I feel the placements that they should be as well. And they would be going up against, out of the Pac-12, USC, an 11 seed. I definitely feel like USC will get a bid to the tourney this year. That would be a great matchup between them and San Diego State in round 1. At our 3 seed, we do have the Baylor Bears. And Baylor, I see some people still giving them a 2 seed. I don't really see that. Usually the team that they have Baylor over as a 2 seed is Marquette. Well, Marquette beat Baylor by a lot earlier in the season. I know head-to-head doesn't really matter, and that's not all that comes into it. Marquette just won the Big East championship, dominated Xavier, beat UConn the game before, just have been on an absolute tear as of late, on a big game win streak, one of the hottest teams in the country. Marquette deserves a 2 seed. Now, if Marquette was doing this and their name was UConn, if their name was Villanova, I feel like the committee would 100% give them a 2 seed and probably be arguing them for a 1 seed. I feel like that name bias is definitely having a factor here because their name is Marquette. They're on the 3 line. I feel like the committee should and actually maybe will give Marquette a 2 seed because they 100% deserve one on Sunday night. So now that I got that little bit of a rant out of the way there, Baylor as a 3 seed, I think that that's the spot that they should be in, and then I have them going up against UC Santa Barbara, my 14 seed here in that region, just locked in their bid tonight as well. Creighton as our 7 seed here, going up against Arkansas. A really good matchup that we saw really early on in the season. At the time that happened, we saw, wow, this is such a good game of the year so far early in this great season. This could be a future Final Four matchup, Creighton and Arkansas. Well, not a Final Four matchup, but a 7-10 matchup in the round of 64. Both teams could definitely do have potential to go on a run as a sleeper team from the 7 or 10 spot. So I think that would be a really fun matchup there in the first round. At our 2 seed here in this region, we do have the UCLA Bruins. They did lose to Arizona in a fantastic game tonight. I just got done watching that one as well. And if UCLA would have won that game, I would have had them as a 1 seed. That's kind of why I was waiting to later to make this video. If UCLA would have beat Arizona again there in the Pac-12 championship, they would have been a 1 seed in place of Purdue for sure. But they lost. I gave Purdue the 1 seed. I got UCLA here as a 2. And I also have Arizona as a 2 as well. And they would be going up against 15-seeded Montana State, who actually won their league surprisingly. I mean, well, I guess not all that surprisingly, because other than Eastern Washington, Montana State was also good as well. But our last region here in New York, our North region, New York City, we do have our 1 seed in the Purdue Boilermakers, and they would be going up against 16-seeded Texas A&M Corpus Christi's. And I'm actually surprised because of how many kind of surprises we've had. Texas A&M Corpus Christi actually gets a bye in the first 4 games, so credit to Texas A&M Corpus Christi. They will be in the round of 64. But we do have our 8 versus 9 matchup between Providence and Missouri, and I think that would be a great matchup. I think at the 8-9 spot, both of those teams have potential to make a run for sure. It would be a fantastic game in round 1. I feel like that game, any game with Providence in it in the first round, especially at 8-9 matchup, just has overtime or double overtime written all over it. That would be a fantastic game. At our 5 seed, we do have Indiana going up against 12-seeded VCU. I'd look out for an upset in that one. I think VCU could definitely give Indiana a run for their money. At our 4 line, we do have the Virginia Cavaliers going up against 13-seeded Yale. Yale plays Princeton today as I'm recording this video, so that could change. Well, if Princeton does defeat Yale, kind of replace Princeton there with Yale. I think either way, whichever team wins will probably get that 13 seed. But I do think Yale will win. Yale did beat Princeton, I think, twice already this year. But hopefully it's a good game. At our 6th line, we do have the TCU Horned Frogs, and no Eddie Lampkin rest of the year. With that situation going on, Eddie Lampkin will be entering in the transfer portal. At our 11th seed, we do have Mississippi State or Arizona State in our play-in game. Winner of that one will take on TCU. At our 3 line, we do have the Kansas State Wildcats going up against 14-seeded Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State, definitely a sleeper as a 14 seed. Kansas State, I'm pretty high on them, going decently far in the tourney. I think they have a very solid squad. At our 7 line, we do have Michigan State, and Michigan State beat by Ohio State in the Big Ten tourney in the quarters there, so that was not great. I could definitely see Michigan State falling to an 8 or a 9. Probably not a 9, but maybe an 8. I could see Michigan State falling down to an 8. I still have them here as a 7 line right now. At our 10 line, I do have Boise State. Boise State, I think that they should make the tourney. I know that they are a bubble team, first 4 out for a lot of people. A lot of people think Boise might not make the tourney. I think that that's crazy, man. They have had such a good year. Boise deserves to go dancing this year. I have them in here as a 10 seed. And at our 2 seed, I already kind of talked about it, I think Marquette deserves a 2 seed. It is crazy to have a team like Baylor or Kansas State over Marquette. Baylor and Kansas State, I know the Big 12 is the toughest league in the conference. My favorite team plays in that league. I know the Big 12 very well. But you have Baylor and Kansas State, both teams who lost in the quarters of their conference tourney, against a team like Marquette, who is one of the hottest teams in the country and won their league championship against very tough competition, man. Marquette deserves a 2 seed, no doubt about it. And they'll be going up against the Catamounts of Vermont, who locked in their bid today as well. So that is going to do it for my final bracketology. Let me know what you guys think about it, man. Do you think that I'm going to come anywhere close to what the actual bracket is going to look like this evening? If not, let me know. If so, let me know what you would change as well. Like I said earlier in the video, we are going to be live tonight watching the reveal, making our first brackets. I cannot wait to finally have the actual bracket in our hands and just be able to go ham making brackets. It's going to be fun. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for this one. Subscribe if you guys are new. Thank you so much for watching.